Amazing fast, bro. 200.
Welcome to another episode of the Unleashing the Future of Work series. And today on the podcast, I am talking with my brother, man, John Marty.
Brother,
And
man.
I mean, there's a lot going on in the world right now. So first of all, we truly want to, give our respects and love to anyone who is currently in anywhere in the world who has a family member, a friend, but I mean, even just anyone within your community from this COVID-19 issue that we're seeing happening in the world. Our heart goes out to you wherever you are. It's incredibly tough right now in the world going on. And I'm actually currently at home spending time with family myself. And it's because I realized, right now, all we have is our community. So I actually had to make this trek back home just so I could be with my family and focus on the things that matter. John, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, man, it's nuts. And we've never experienced anything like this before. I've been keeping up with a lot of the articles, and news stories, things that are happening, and I'm trying to kind of look at everything through the lens of practicality. Because I think there's like with any scenario, you have like differing opinions, and those opinions can sway all the way to one side or all the way to the other, right? And so I try to say, like, is my opinion that I have about this scenario rooted in fact, in data, in science? Is it all the way on the fear side of things? Like, what is really going on, And so, but it is crazy, right? Like I just read an article today that that the jobless rate is expected to be 30% in the next 9 months, right? And then I was looking at the Great Depression, and I was like, well, what is the jobless rate from the Great Depression? And a lot of people say that it was roughly 25%. But what's fascinating about the Great Depression was that that's 25% of the U.S. economy, right? We're looking at a worldwide jobless rate right now, and a worldwide supply chain shutdown. And I think that's the biggest thing. And although this COVID-19 thing is affecting, the mortality rate is between 2 and 4%. Like we get differing rates, right? And so let's say it's on the high side, 4%. Well, that's still going to affect globally potentially 50 to 100 million people.
Yeah.
And so it's a huge deal, and it's more of a huge deal on the strain of our healthcare system, right? Because those 4% of people, like you have hospitals and you have capacity rates at hospitals that are planned, and they're not planned for pandemics. They're not planned for surges that are 30% above their capacity. They just every year they think, hey, here's our capacity. This is what we're planning for. Here's the supplies we're buying. And it's just kind of a normal rate of capacity and supply. And now you have this like massive, kind of curve of inflow that nobody was expected in the hospital systems. And so you have supply chains trying to figure out, well, how do we create masks? How do we create ventilators? How do we create all these things that we need that we didn't plan for, that none of the supply chain planned for?
At all.
All.
I mean, we're seeing Amazon boost their supply chain capacity by hiring more seasonal workers, similar to Walmart as well. I think for me, man, it's been fascinating, just witnessing everything that's going on, because I think early on, in the U.S. particularly, we didn't take it seriously enough, right?
Yeah.
But now I think we are taking it seriously. And, what I really enjoyed is the government and technology companies such as Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, Google, everyone is really banding together almost as a community to right the wrongs, right? Our lack of preparation. And I think one of the biggest things for me, man, that actually, when I found out that Kevin Durant had COVID-19.
I know, man. I know. I saw that.
At home for me, right? Because I like watching basketball here and there. And
the
is a pretty prominent athlete. But I think one thing that we need to realize is that anyone can be affected if you're not practicing, what I don't like to call it social distancing, but like us staying home, like stay home right now, right? So for all of you who are listening, stay home, right? That's the best thing we can do for others, to make sure that we don't act as carriers, or we don't receive, right? So stay home.
Yeah. It's really crazy, man. I was reading this article last night. I'll pull it up, and it's just like some pretty sobering stats. And I think, it was an article in The Hill, and it was saying, if you're like most Americans, the answer, let's see, how long could you sustain your household if you were to stop earning income? And it says if you're like most Americans, the answer is not for long. Only 40% of Americans can afford an unexpected $1,000 expense with their savings.
Yeah.
And nearly 80% of workers are living paycheck to paycheck. 80%, right? And there was another stat. It was like something along the lines of like 80% of people who make over $150,000 a year are also living paycheck to paycheck, right? So it's going to kind of create this course correction for people over the next 5 years, and movements towards simplicity.
Yeah, I agree. And so, for everyone that's watching and listening right now in the Unleashing the Future of Work community, please give us a shout out. Where are you listening and tuning in from? Show us some love. Let us know where you're at. Let us know that you're safe. We want to show you some love in the comments. And I think, what we want to talk about today, because it's so prominent and important due to the fact that the world is changing, right? Due to this pandemic. And I think what's on John and I's heart to discuss today is the fact that now more than ever, do you all need personal brands, right? Now more than ever, do you all need to be in a position where you are guiding your career? And more importantly, you are putting yourself out there, because here's what we have to, here's the truth. The only way companies are going to be hiring from now on is probably more than likely going to be remotely, right? No one can even go to an interview in person, right? No one can go to a networking event, right? Everyone, the entire world is currently on shutdown. And what this causes is that your online personal brand, how you network online, those relationships, whether it be through social media or your website or your internet business, now it's more important than ever.
Man, so true, man.
It's now more important than ever. In fact, that's all most people have, right? Who even have access.
That's all you can lean on.
That's all you can lean on, right? So Pilly from Columbus, Ohio, is saying, I love listening to you guys. I love bringing your info back into the workplace. Both. Thank you, Pilly. We love you too.
Yeah, thank you.
Saying, I'm in Dallas, Texas, and we will be going on lockdown tonight, 11:59 p.m.
Man, that's crazy.
April 3rd. Love you. Saying, listening from New Jersey while I am at home working on my classes online. Go, Jason. Keep doing it.
Yeah, Jason.
Take advantage of that take home, that work from home benefit, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It has been great that the educational technology companies offered free educational resources. Shout out to you, Kimberly. That's so true. Google has done it, and Facebook has done it even for their Facebook education division.
Yeah.
Saying, okay, I'm not gonna. Oh, never mind. Sean isn't saying anything. All right. With that said, thank y'all for showing love, everyone. Yeah. I'm happy to hear that everyone's safe. Shout out to Betty from Chicago. Locked down, but not knocked down.
I love that. I love that.
But, John, right? Personal branding. It's now more important than ever. What do you think?
Yeah. I've been saying this for a long time, and it was. I think for me, the thing that spurred me wanting to create a personal brand was when I was jobless a couple years ago. And I kind of I just went through the pain of that for a long time, and went through the psychological pain of that for a while. Well, if I don't have a job, who am I? All that stuff, right? And I think that's a lot of things that people are going to go through now. People have gone through in the past. Everybody's kind of faced those situations throughout pieces of their career.
Yeah.
But I've been saying for years, you have to kind of take your life into your own hands. You can't rely on your employer. I work for Amazon. I'm thankful that I work for Amazon, because the stock is still doing well given the economic circumstances, right? But it could have just as easily gone the other way. And And if it did and I lost my job, like I have other things that I can rely on. Like
Yeah.
and I think, I was at American Express in the past, and we had all these contractors that used to work for us, and one day they were just all let go. And
Yeah.
they were all let go during Christmas time, right? So all these people were just out on the streets, right? And this happens at a lot of companies. And then the problem is then the stigma of getting hired becomes recruiters looking at you saying actively seeking, and they think inherently that it's your fault. And
Yeah.
that's what's so messed up, right? People think it's your fault, and it's not your fault 99% of the time. It's not because of the, not having quality of work. It's because of a reorg, or some
Yeah.
new boss, or some crazy situation that happened at work, or COVID-19,
Yeah.
right? And so I think the mentality is also going to change for people who are for recruiters who see people that are actively seeking. I don't
Mm.
think that stigma will exist, in years to come. So I think that's a benefit when people are looking for jobs. It's like, oh, it very well could have been because of the economic turndown,
Yeah.
you know. But then you have to rely on the social media and the things that you put out, the things that we preach so much. It's like, who is your brand outside of work?
Yeah.
Right? Do you have other sources of income that you can rely on? Because I don't think there's any safety net.
Yeah.
And people are starting to realize that now. There is no safety net. You could be fired tomorrow at any job, anywhere.
Mm. My boy Mike Yates is saying, I feel like I've been beating this drum, which is why the three of us know each other. Last
Yeah.
time I realized I was vulnerable. I saw this coming. I told my friends to get on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
build brand, and take control.
Take
Maybe many
control.
people told me I was crazy. Nah, I just look smart.
Yeah, that's right, Mike. That's right, man. That's
That's
right.
what I like, man. And shout out to you, Mike, for doing that, man. Your brand is huge, and
Yeah, man.
taking off since you really invested in it.
Yeah.
Kurt is saying, "Hey guys, all the way from Malta, EU here, healthy and doing well. Yay, we're happy to hear that, Kurt. All
Yeah.
I see right now is opportunity. I love that. There's going to be a lot of change and a lot of opportunity in the coming weeks and months. I completely agree, Kurt. In
Yeah.
fact, I actually made a post on LinkedIn early last week, I believe, and I kind of listed out some of the emerging products and services that I
Yeah.
think are going to blow up because this global pandemic, and I encouraged anyone who's looking for a job right now, think about one building your personal brand, right?
Mm.
Making sure you're becoming a thought leader through content creation, but also think about emerging industries that will now be on the up and up due to
Yeah.
this pandemic.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking electrical vehicles, I'm thinking AR and VR training, I'm thinking e-learning. Shout out to our team at Guide. We're building an e-learning product called Guide, a life skills training app for high school students, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, telehealth, telemedicine, telefitness, right? Now that
Mm-hmm.
everyone's working from home, they're from it, right? Like
Yeah.
now we have
Right.
caretakers
Yeah, it's
and
huge.
moms and dads who are saying, since I don't have time to go to a gym due to the pandemic, I'm gonna bring my weights to my home office or my home fitness area, and now you're seeing
Yeah.
actually new behaviors emerging in people being comfortable working from home and taking care of their bodies and their minds from home. So I'm really
Yeah.
excited for. I believe there's been good and bad with this pandemic. The good is that it's brought us together, right?
Yeah.
I think it's been a triggering function for people to start investing in their personal brand
Yeah.
and personal brand capital.
Yeah.
And I think the bad is the fact that one, it needed this for us to come together. I think as a world, I
Mm.
think that saddens me. In addition, I think the bad is that we're seeing how we weren't prepared for
Yeah.
something such as this. And
Yeah.
it's funny because the other day, I was visiting a foster home with my dad. My dad's a social worker for some of you who don't know, and he works with kids who have come from low income backgrounds. They were abused, and they got addicted to substance abuse at the age of 7.
Yeah.
Right? We go to this foster home, and I was talking to these kids, and they were just telling me all of their hopes and dreams, and I was telling them a little bit about our company Guide that my co-founders and I built. And I asked them, who do y'all want to become when y'all grow up? Right? They told me we want to be firefighters, I want to be a mechanical engineer.
Mm.
And, initially I was thinking to myself, these jobs may not even be around in the next 10 years, right?
Right.
And more importantly, how we preparing, these students who will be our future, especially in this time of a pandemic, to, be employed in jobs that don't yet exist, right?
Yeah.
Because they gave, they gave me these kind of like mundane jobs. They think that it's still going to be around.
Yeah.
But one of the things that this pandemic has taught me is that, one, what's going to happen is that we're going to see we're going to see a lot of new job creation, right? And I think in every industry.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of companies are going to start being more operationally focused on distributed teams and making sure everyone is decentralized and encouraging remote work and leveraging technology to automate a lot of their processes. And what that's going to cause, I believe, people to do, back to our topic of focus, is invest in their own personal brands so they can work maybe for multiple companies from home, right? Because I think that is the future, right? So you can work for Microsoft, the Amazon, well, their competitors, a Microsoft or a Microsoft non-competitor,
Right.
From the comfort of your own home, but also work on your own side business, right? So a lot of what I'm seeing that's good about this, what we're seeing right now in the pandemic, is that it's causing us to think differently about our job economy, the market, and how we can empower people to succeed in the future with multiple streams of income, not just relying on one.
Yeah. That's going to be a critical concern for most people, right? How do they do that? And then also from a life standpoint, like, is it worth it for me to have a massive mortgage? Is it worth it for me to do this or that? Like, people are going to be fearful, right? Living well beyond your means. Even like last year, I moved into. I'm really thankful that I moved from Seattle to Denver, and I post a lot of content about like trying to live simply, and we have a very small house in Denver. We pay very little for our living expenses. And then when this whole thing hit, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not like stressed out.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, if we were in Seattle, we would be a totally different scenario, because our rent in Seattle was like over 2 times what it is here, and it's just very difficult. But the problem also in the United States is like, well, how do you, in a lot of ways, like, how do you reduce your expenses? Like, if your mortgage or your rent costs are so high anyway, to live in a city that has those jobs, like there's all kinds of things. But there are still things that we can cut out of our expenses as non-essential things that we really don't need. And I think people are going to start assessing those things pretty heavily in coming weeks and coming months.
Yeah. And what John and I have been working on, so we're actually our second to big tech course, Break into Big Tech, where we support people who want to get into tech, or maybe even find remote job opportunities in the tech industry.
Well, they're all going to be remote. They're all remote now.
We're all remote now, right? Yep, we're all remote now.
Yeah.
I think there's still people who aren't unfulfilled in their jobs, and they want to change. And John and I have been working with our first student cohort who have loved our course. We shared a little bit about it on LinkedIn, and we're actually going to be opening up our second cohort soon. So check out our breakintobigtech.com website, breakintobigtech.com.
We just updated it with all the testimonials from our current cohort.
Yep. And John and I don't do pre-recorded content. We do live content, active engagement.
It's like sitting in a class.
We offer you a supportive community, the entire end-to-end experience of what you deserve, and we'll help you get into Breaking to Big Tech. And if you check out our website, you'll actually see testimonials as well. And so definitely check out the breakintobigtech.com website. It's on your screen, and we'll make sure to add it in the comments below as well. So John, what do you think, everyone that's a remote worker right now, which is everyone listening, what do you think they need to start doing to, I guess, level up in terms of personal branding? And before you say that, I want to show love to our awesome community. Sarah, we need our ISPs to stop throttling our internet connection.
Oh my God, for real.
We need net neutrality more than ever. How about low-income people being left behind? Great points.
Yeah.
Sarah. Betty's saying, flex jobs. I was interested in working from home exclusively once upon a career transition. I think this site, flexjobs.com, still offers opportunities. Shout out to you, Betty, for sharing that resource.
Yeah.
Kimberly's saying, I'm interested in searching for tech opportunities. If you are interested, Kimberly, check out our breakintobigtech.com course. We would love to support you in that journey.
Yeah.
Xavier is saying, hello, Jonathan. Hello, Xavier. What's up, man? How you doing, brother? And Jesutuni is saying, always enjoy how thoughts bounce around in this show. Thank you, Jesutuni from Lagos, Nigeria. We appreciate you, man.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
In the fintech industry. Our boy Mike Yates, he's launching a sneaker line in a few weeks called Black. So shout out to Mike Yates if you're interested in his sneaker line. He is our co-founder at Guy, and he's one of the top leaders in the education tech space. Check
That's
out
awesome, man.
line, which is coming out in a few weeks, called Black.
Yeah, you got your YouTube channel coming too, Mike.
Yeah. Mike is a huge side of the slit.
Yeah, I love that.
So next up, so as I was saying, John, how does our community level up in terms of their personal branding? And if you're loving this content, if you're loving our live stream, please share it to your network, everyone. But John, what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I mean, as far as leveling up goes, man, I think you just have to understand and take time to understand what direction you want to take in your life,
Mm-hmm.
And I think people kind of let life just take them wherever. And they don't take control of it. They don't look at it as a work back plan. They don't think, well, like, how am I gonna achieve this result? And it's easy to find people who you admire and then understand what their backgrounds are and create a work back plan from people that you admire, And so I think when people are thinking about upgrading their personal brand, it's like, well, who do you want to be? And why do you want to be it? It's like the resources are out there. And I think that's why it's so important for so many people to create personal brands and to create content, because it leaves artifacts for others as breadcrumbs for others to say, oh, well, this is how that person thought. Yeah. This is how they got to where they got. And then I could say, well, if I want to be that person, I can do the same.
Yeah. And it's funny because a lot of people overthink their personal brands, right?
Yeah.
For example, I'll use our boy Mike Gates, who's one of the top leaders in education right now. Mike, when he actually started, because we know Mike personally, Mike actually started building his personal brand literally just through the grunt of creating content, just putting it out there. There was no educators on LinkedIn sharing content, and Mike literally, I actually found out about Mike through content creation.
Yeah.
Putting himself out there. Because I was like, who is this guy? Like, he knows so much about education tech. And at that time, our other co-founder, Taban, and I, we were looking for, another co-founder to help us build this company.
Yeah.
But we didn't necessarily the way Mike did. So we literally found out about him just through active community building and content creation. We were like, we have to talk to this guy, right? Because he's an expert at something that we're not an expert at, but we know he can support us. So I think what people don't realize is that, and this is a teacher, right? How many teachers do you know on LinkedIn who have really great personal brands?
Yeah, who are doing TED Talks, who've done TED Talks, very few. But Mike said, look, I have an opportunity to position myself in a really great way because there's not a lot of people on LinkedIn like me. No. And I think there's a lot of you all like similar to Mike listening right now in our community. You probably think, man, I'm just a support engineer. I'm just in cybersecurity, right? Yeah. I'm a teacher. But you have to understand you're more than that. Yeah. We preach that a lot in our Break Into Big Tech course. Actually, one of the most interesting things from our first cohort of 40 students was that there's this kind of there's a lot of underlying language that people use both in their written and on their resumes, on their LinkedIn profiles, in the way that they've even written their interview answers that we're going to go over tonight.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's this underlying lack of belief in themselves, and I don't know where that comes from. Like, why is it so universal?
Yeah.
It's kind of this plague. And what's really fascinating too is, like, as soon as we started the group chat, then people started feeling empowered to, like, be more.
Yeah.
just because they had a community. And it's really interesting. Like, well, why isn't that community fostered early on in life? Like, why is there such a lack of belief?
Well, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why, man.
Why? Tell me why.
Corporate America is brutal to people who want
Bro.
personal brand.
But is it before that though, man? Like, is it school that does that? Because yeah, corporate America screw you up.
Oh, definitely, school definitely does that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. The school definitely does. I think school, like, we've gone on the record and said this many times. School has failed everyone in corporate America because it gives you this very supply chain model to education and the workforce, when really, when you get into the real world, as we all often refer to it as, life is more about your hustle, your work ethic, your grind, how you build relationships, how you build teams, how you listen, all of the life skills that being taught in universities or even high schools for that matter.
It's so weird, man.
What's being taught is that we need to grade you more. We need to stack rank you and have you compete with other students, right? We need to tell you you're not good enough and give you standardized testing to reinforce that, right? All of these things don't work.
And that failure is bad. Like, it's crazy, man. That's the biggest one. I think that failure is bad. It's like, well, 99% of most ventures that you and I try and that Mike tries, that anybody tries, fails, and then you learn from it, and then you don't beat yourself up over it. But if I use this example of like my kids skateboarding, like, because we homeschool our kid, and we have been homeschooling our kid this year. My wife has been, and he gets homeschooled for 2 hours a day, and it's funny, like, the curriculum that he has is more, he actually has more curriculum in his 2 hours than he normally would in an 8-hour day at school. And then he spends the rest of the day doing what he wants to do, which is skateboard. And so he goes and learns skateboarding, and he's like struggling through that experience. And if you were to apply skateboarding through the lens of failure that you're taught in school, he would be like, I'm a failure because I just missed this thing, or I just fell on I fell on the ground, so I am now a failure, right? As opposed to just being like, oh, I have to do this like 5,000 times, and then maybe I'll land it. Right? Like that's the approach for life. Like, I have to do this thing 5,000 times, and then after a while, I'll figure it out, and I'll train my mental muscle to learn, right? Like, I learn through pressure testing, I learn through failure, I learn through struggle, as opposed to just being like, well, I got a failing grade in school, so I'm a damn failure.
I'll tell you, as as a CEO for one of the top startups in the world right now, Guy, we fail every single day.
Oh,
right?
Bro, every day.
It's always a learning lesson when we're pitching investors, when we're working with partners, when we're building our business model. It's like we're always learning. Everything is iterative. Like, we don't just figure it out the first time. We have to iterate. And one of the things I love about my role is that I work with two of the smartest people in the world, and Mike and Taban, who are my co-founders. And I'm just always listening and learning. And I think what high schools and schools need to do is encouraging learning and failure, right? Because I think when you walk into a complex work environment, whether it be global pandemic or not, I think the work will only continue to get more complex and more distributed. We need to encourage more intrinsic motivation, right? More self-motivation, more team collaboration. And if schools aren't ready to aren't prepared to make those changes, we're going to see a lot of people who aren't ready for the workforce. So really, to show love to our awesome community. Tom is saying, Hudson, his friend, and him are always huge fans of our work, and they continue to share our work with their network. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Tom and Hudson.
Yeah.
Phoebe saying, you guys are awesome. She was like, yeah.
What's up, Amanchu?
So Sabrina is saying, yes. So Mike found his niche and his unique value proposition and built an amazing brand about it. He sure did, man. He sure did.
Yeah.
Mike is like, thanks for the love, guys. He's definitely going to be sending some people to our breakintobigtech.com course. Once again, if you're interested in tech and finding a fulfilling job, remote or not remote, we got you. Our Break Into Big Tech has been incredibly successful. check out our website, breakintobigtech.com, to learn more. And we actually got some of our students who are watching right now speak to how amazing the course has been. Sabrina is talking about, I think imposter syndrome comes from corporate and social conditioning. Woo!
I do, man.
What do you think about that, Mike? I'm sorry. What do you think about that?
Yeah, what do you think about that, Mike?
Mike is like on the podcast with us, right?
Man, the imposter syndrome, man.
Yeah.
I think we all feel it, dude. I think we come at it from a position of like not realizing that other people are human too.
Yeah.
We just like we're so heavily focused on like our own fear about like being found out or whatever, you know? And then we realize like everybody feels the same way. Everybody feels the exact same way. Like everybody is nervous to get the new job. Everybody is nervous to create a personal brand. Everybody is nervous to share a story. Like that's just life. And so like we're all human. And yeah, I mean, imposter syndrome is so crazy. Why do we feel that way? Like I felt it joining Amazon, like I felt it joining American Express, like I felt it starting my company. Like you know.
How do you combat imposter syndrome, John? Especially if you want to build your personal brand, because I think a lot of people are afraid to beat their chest, right? And I'm great at this. No one's better than me at this. And if they are, then we're just as good. Like, right? Like people are to be confident to sell themselves. I've seen it. I was like that once, but now I'm more comfortable selling myself because I understand my value proposition. But how do people combat that, John?
I mean, I don't know, man. Like one of our students, Tony, you know, he was writing a post about career advice.
Yeah.
And he even wrote in the group chat, he was like, man, I feel like an imposter here.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm like, bro, you're a CTO and you feel like an imposter. That is so crazy. But I think you combat it first by creating a community. And that's what we've done with Breaking to Big Tech, right? Because like each person in there is supporting each other. And when they feel that support, then that reduces that kind of anxiety that other people are not going to have their back. You know, like even before social distancing, you know, we don't foster a deep sense of community with people. It's kind of like every man for themselves. You know, and I think it's hard to find a community. Like, well, how do I build one? How do I create a group? So I think there's like difficulty in that process as well. You know, like when like you find that group a little bit in school, but then when you leave school, it's like you're just an individual. You're no longer like in a community. And so that makes it difficult. But I think you combat it by first building up, like step one, like find that group, right? Like find your peer group, as hard as it might be, you know, go on social media and be like, hey, I'm looking for a group. I'm looking for some people that I can band together with to create content, to share ideas. And when you start doing it, you build more conviction for like what you're thinking, kind of unlocking your mind a little bit and build up conviction for what you're thinking. And I think when you do that too, then you start to not care as much about what other people think because you have a community. Yeah, I don't know, man. That's my thoughts on that.
So you think community is one way to combat imposter syndrome? So surrounding yourself around like-minded individuals who motivate you. You know, man, that's powerful, right? Because, you know, in 2017 was when I started and, you know, founded the Mentors and Mentees, a guide community. And, you know, that has changed my life in tremendous ways. You know, we have members of our community who have, you know, worked with top companies like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, and they all have contributed their success to the support, mentorship, and, you know, engagement that they receive from mentors and mentees. And, you know, I think that there's this quote that a rising boat lifts all ships.
Yeah, right, man. Yeah, that's right.
And
when the rising tide,
rising tide lifts all ships. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I think we need more people understanding that collectively we're stronger together than apart or isolated, right? I think that's where Ubuntu comes in. And I think that's why, you know, what's going on with COVID-19 has truly been sad for me seeing it all, and the fact that it's almost like people are we're people are banding together in terms of the efforts that we're doing to combat this virus. But the fact that people are isolated has saddened me. But I'm so
Yeah.
thankful for those who are looking for community, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not breaking to big tech cores, those who are engaging, those who are supporting each other, those who are volunteering, right, for people who are calling suicide hotlines and really collectively uprising due to our difficulties. And I want to show love to our comments and our audience. Martita is saying, where imposter syndrome started for me was my parents and the guilt of religion, also failing, not an option. Martita, we're so happy that you combated that, and you're an successful angel investor and diversity, equity, and inclusion advocate now. Betty is saying education and industry are severely disconnected. We are failing our youth. You are right, Betty, and I'm happy that we are doing something about it. You are doing something about it as an innovation program manager for one of the top schools in Chicago. Shout out to you, Betty. Mike is saying, so glad to hear you homeschool your kids, John. I love that freaking model.
Yeah.
I can model you, John.
That's awesome, man.
And Taylor's saying, will the full live be available after the interview? Absolutely, Taylor.
Yeah, absolutely, Taylor.
Available on LinkedIn Live, as on my profile, as well as on Spotify and Apple. So Taylor is saying, it's the fear of failure and associated consequence that drives imposter syndrome. If the consequence of failing were positive and celebrated, people would feel safer to take risks.
Yeah, but what's so crazy? What's so crazy about students, man? So you go through, like, I think where the imposter syndrome starts is, well, I mean, there's a lot of ways it starts, but one of the fascinating things is, like, you go through school for 20 years, and then you say to yourself, I can't find a job because I don't have the skills. How is that like, it's actually comical. It's comical to think that we spend 20 years in school, or 18, 17 years in school.
Longer than that, right?
Yeah, right. Like, that's a whole different topic. That is insanity. But yeah, you spend all this time in school, and then, like, you go to the workforce and you have zero skills. Zero. So you go into your first job and you're like, well, how am I even going to deliver? As opposed to being like, I've hyper focused on something for 1 or 2 years, and I know, I believe, right? Like, you've learned what you need to succeed, and so you start believing in yourself. It's fascinating, man, how we go through a school model that's purely theoretical, and we have nothing tangible to offer. But then but then the people that you see who are hyper successful either dropped out of school, or when they did leave school, they spent like 15 years in one track.
Wow.
They one tracked themselves. They learned all the nuances, the ins and outs, the everything. And then, after 15 years, 20 years, you're like, oh damn, they're really successful now, because they just went all in. And you see that with somebody who is a sports star, right? Like Durant, right? You see him, he's gone all in on basketball because that's his thing, right? And he became a pro. Well, like, we should be changing the model around. Like, students are like, well, I don't know what I want to be. And they start saying this until, like, after they're 20. But inherently, there are things that I see in my kid right now that I know he's good at.
Like,
and I know he doesn't like.
John, what are they?
What's that?
What are they? I know, because you have some parents with kids watching and listening. What are the things that you see in little John that he's great at?
Well, you just, like, pick up little nuances. Like, you pick up, like, for example, reading and comprehension. Like, just as far as, like, that skill set, he absolutely loves it. He loves consuming knowledge. Loves it. But, like, he seems to get, like, mentally tired when it comes to, like, math problems. And so there's nuances already at 6 years old that you see. You're like, oh, he loves doing this. He's energized by doing this. He's really inquisitive with this, but not with that. And so why don't we, I think we've created the system in our education system where we make kids believe that they shouldn't focus, that they should be a little of everything, but yet the most successful people in the world have become hyper focused on one thing.
Yeah.
You know, and the earlier you do it, the better. And I think that I
And it's
think,
funny because they use that one thing to diversify
yeah,
their right.
yeah, right. It's really fascinating, man. You know, I mean, um, the best people in every industry, you know, you see that they've just stuck with it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And there's no grass, and like the grass is greener thing too, right? Like you get caught up into that mentality, like the grass is always greener. So you're like,
Yeah,
oh shit, well,
and I think when how that applies to personal branding too, you know, is the fact that you kind of always have to position yourself as a specialist or a key domain expert in some field.
in something,
For one
yeah.
of our, you know, our listeners, Mike Yates, that's education tech,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wouldn't go to anyone else but Mike to talk about the future of education. It would just be a
Right,
waste of time if I tried to talk to anyone else because I
right,
know he's an expert. He's branding himself as an expert,
right.
right? For you know, for you, John, that's helping people discover their purpose, right?
Yeah,
Um, and for us, it's helping people get into tech, right? For
right.
me, it's the future of work. So it's like everyone has to position themselves as a specialist or a go-to expert in some sort of domain in
Yeah,
order to be recognized. And I think what often people are scared of when it comes to personal branding is like, am I pigeonholing myself into
yeah,
this?
right.
Like, I feel as if I'm really dynamic. I can do so.
I, I feel as if that's like the normal. That's a, yeah,
I don't want to just do this one thing like
yeah,
everyone.
yeah,
But the thing about it is that if it's one thing that you're really, if it's a niche that no one else is doing, or you're really, really great at it and you're passionate about it, that one thing will open up so much opportunities for you. Whether
yeah,
it's engagements, to press opportunities, to investment opportunities, you have
yeah,
to see that one thing as a vehicle for you to one, live a fulfilling life and do the work that you love. But you
yeah,
have to see it as you becoming an expert at something that people want to know you for, and you know you're great at, so you don't waste your time on everything else that you're great at, not great at, right? And I
yeah,
think it goes with that, with the saying of leading with your strengths,
yeah,
right? You know, for me, I have strengths in technology. I have strengths. I know everything about the future of work, end to end.
yeah,
Always learning too, right? Like like that's what you. If you want to come to me about anything, come to me about the future of work.
yeah,
And
right,
for me, a lot of my personal branding, which is more so me just being authentically me, has
yeah,
me positioned around that because that's what I want people to know me for, right?
yeah,
So you know, I encourage you all when y'all think about y'all's personal brand, think about it. What do you want to be known for? Simple as that, right?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so really quick, let me show love to our awesome community. Betty is saying imposter syndrome. Question around that.
Mm.
Am I too old to learn a code? When we consider upskilling, reskilling for the future of work, is tech learning an absolute or an option? John, what are your thoughts on that?
Is she too old to what?
Is she too old to learn the code?
I mean, definitely not. I don't think you're ever too old to learn new
Yeah.
skills, right? It's just a matter of like, what's your motivation for doing it, right? Like, I don't think you necessarily need a technical skill in a tech company, which is, I mean, that's the foundation of breaking into big tech, right? Like, I think everybody believes that you need to be an engineer to break into a Facebook
Mm,
or Amazon, and what like it's crazy to you know, when you're on the inside, you realize like
mm,
there are every single type of role at a big tech company, just like there are at every other company.
mm.
And so if you want to, if you're great at sales, like stay in sales. It was
Yeah.
interesting. Like I posted this YouTube video the other day about like software engineering manager salaries being like $500,000 at Facebook
Wow.
and Amazon, Google, whatever. And it's like, yeah, like salaries are really insane. And then Brendan commented and he was like, dude, like I want to go into engineering. And it's like, you don't have to go into engineering. Just go into
Yeah.
something you really like. And if you want to get paid well, you can find that high paying job at a top tech company. It's just all a matter of positioning. So never too late to
Yeah.
start.
So true.
You just got to know where you want to go and why.
Mm. Yeah. So someone on our Facebook channel says, I think people are so ill-equipped to produce and be skillful in society that people feel that the time they spent and accomplishments they built up are no longer of value to them. I think that contributes to imposter syndrome, like John was alluding to. I also think people should be expressed to more variety younger. and should get opportunities to specialize at a much younger age.
I agree.
I'm
I
an expert
agree.
in social media as much as I possibly can. Great points. Great points.
Yeah.
I think, to kind of recap it really quick, y'all, we want y'all, if y'all are loving this episode, please share with your networks, tag us, your thoughts, let your mom, let your dad, let your coworker know who's working from home as well.
Yeah.
That you're loving this episode of the Unleashing the Future of Work series with John and Tim. So make sure to tag us and share this. But yeah, I think, to really recap, personal branding in today's day and age with everything going on with COVID and, how the workforce is going to change long term for people who are in the workforce, but it's also going to be changing, I think, for students as well, is that one, we need to start encouraging students to really embracing community, right? So giving them a support group at a young age of like-minded people. Number two, it's don't be afraid to encourage specialization within your kids, but also with yourself when it comes to building your personal brand, right?
Yeah.
Like you being a specialist in marketing, sales, education, tech, the future of work, purpose coaching, like all of that is your niche, and that can be a vehicle for you to go into other different avenues in your life where you can have control of your career and not rely on one company, right? Because we're just not living in that type of future anymore. Lastly, combat imposter syndrome by realizing that you're more than enough, and with intrinsic motivation and experimenting, not being afraid to fail, you'll be able to grow.
Yeah, that's probably the core foundation of where imposter syndrome comes from. It comes from a comparison culture.
Yeah.
So a belief that you are not capable or not enough comes from looking at society and the definition of success as being, I need to be a billionaire, and anything outside of being a billionaire, I'm going to be a failure. And that's why students think they don't have a lot to offer when it comes to content creation. They think they're not experts yet. They're withholding content creation until they get to the point where they're an expert, or creating a personal brand. And so it's just that feeling of not being enough is like a cultural nuance. And when you drop yourself into a community or create community, then you can say, oh, I have a community of people who already believe I'm enough. So I guess that I can believe that I'm enough, right? It like breaks the cycle. And then you're like, well, we can all believe in each other. And how empowering is that, right? And then you're like, well, shit, I don't need a job title to think that I'm enough. And then I don't have to fear failure because I'm already enough, right? So like the foundational piece of this is people feeling like they're not enough because of the comparison culture we have.
I love that. Tom is saying, if you love what you do, you're not as concerned of what others think. Imposter syndrome can also come from not doing what you love. That helped me understand my passion and what I'm great at. It has also helped me create a brand of growth mindset and learning actively. I love that, man. I love that.
I love that.
And the greater expertise you have in one area, you'll be able to see yourself fit in other industries, careers, and places with that expertise.
That's right.
True that.
That's right. That's right.
Betty is saying, man, this is awesome. Thank y'all. Shout out to y'all for sharing all of this amazing information.
Yeah.
With that said, y'all, thank y'all so much for tuning in to another episode of Unleashing the Future of Work. If you are interested in pivoting into tech and, within this current state of our pandemic, really finding yourself going for that fulfilling career that you love, check out our breakintobigtech.com course. Breakintobigtech.com is the website. Break Into Big Tech is the name of the course. And our initial student cohort have loved the course. I mean, we've gotten amazing testimonials that you can check out on our breakintobigtech.com. Really help you understand how do you get a job in tech, whether remote, on site, with the top tech company of your dreams. Bo, John, and I have worked with some of the greatest companies in the world, from Microsoft to Facebook to Amazon, Google, you name it, we've been there. And we are really passionate about sharing this information and helping you ladder up to where you want to go in your tech career. And once again, this course is for people who are interested in non-technical roles in tech. So think of product management, sales,
marketing,
business analysts, things of that nature. John,
Yeah.
any?
No, that's it. We spend so much time in the cohort, you know. We
We love y'all.
Yeah,
You
we
are
we
cute.
really love it. I mean, I think the students can really tell that it's our passion. You know, we love doing it, and it's interesting that there's just so many career coaches out there that see things from kind of a myopic perspective, or that have not necessarily been in a role at a tech company, and so they'll be like a professional resume writer, but they've never been in a tech company, and so the
Yeah.
only thing they do is focus on resumes, and like they've been leveraging 25 years of writing the same type of resumes, and it's
Yeah.
like the resume structure ladders up to the LinkedIn profile, ladders up to how do I communicate my value,
Mm.
ladders up to if I'm communicating my value properly on my resume and my LinkedIn profile, and I can articulate that on paper and succinctly, then I can also do that from the perspective of an interview,
Yeah.
right? And so people don't know how to piece it all together, but we've been in that trench. So
We've been in the trenches.
yeah,
We've actually worked in tech, right? We
yeah,
lived tech stuff.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's true. It's true. With that said, thank y'all so much for tuning in to another episode of the Unleashing the Future of Work live online series. Make sure to check out utfow.com, unleashingthefutureofwork.com, utfow.com. If you're interested in becoming a guest for future episodes, or you're interested in sponsoring the series, and more importantly, if you're interested in breaking into big tech, make sure to check out breakintobigtech.com. As always, it's awesome talking with you all. If you loved this episode, share with your network. Let your mom know, let your dad know, little son know, and more importantly, let your coworker know that if they're interested in finding a fulfilling job in tech and they want to take their tech career to the next level, the breakintobigtech.com course will help them do it. So definitely share this information with them. With that said, y'all, thank y'all so much for tuning in. We really appreciate the Unleashing the Future of Work community, and we'll see you this Thursday.
Thanks,
Peace.
guys. We'll see you.